My favorite quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is this: darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I have decided to stick to love. Hate is too great a burden to bear.
I love that. Our first guest is here today to talk about a prayer service in honor of the civil rights leader. The topics of this Saturday event are just as relevant today as they were during Dr. King's life. So please welcome Celia Jackson, a community volunteer. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Great to see you back.
Yeah.
Love it when
I know.
you're here.
How about that?
Well, you look
It's
fantastic.
been a whole year. Thank you so much.
Now's the time. I think this is so wonderful. I don't know if you watched the Golden Globes, which a lot of people did, but Meryl Streep gave a speech that was so touching and moving, talking about a very similar topic about the fact of, you know, we need to spread love to get love. We need, you know, all those kinds of topics, and that's what this year is about. It's strength to love.
Absolutely.
Is the topic. What does that mean to you?
Well, Strength to Love is a book which is comprised of a number of Dr. King's sermons, and he's essentially talking about how we really need to have the strength to love one another. We do it with so many conditions. And so this whole notion about being compassionate about the injustices in our society and what that really means. And a lot of us really choose to be more comfortable when it comes to fighting injustice. And really, you can't fight injustice from your comfort zone.
Right.
And so I think that he has a lot of illustrations. I mean, you know, clearly, given he gave his whole life to fighting injustice and really certainly stepped outside of his comfort zone. So I think that he is really urging the religious institutions to really try and get people to be more compassionate with one another and really understand and appreciate fully what love really means.
And what someone else's experience is truly like. And you have a keynote speaker this year, well-known author, Father Maurice Nutt, who's going to be talking. And I think it's wonderful that he'll be the featured speaker. One of the things I like about his message is that he's very, feels very strongly about acknowledging injustice. And I feel like until we acknowledge it, you know, you talked about being in our comfort zone, until we acknowledge it and say it exists, we can't do anything to address it or change it.
That's right. I mean, we do have to acknowledge that it exists pretty much across the board in our systems, in our institutions, whether we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about education, we talk about disparity. You mentioned Meryl Streep's comments last night. I thought it was so powerful, her just making comment about speaking from a place of power and privilege about people who are not capable of fighting back on that same level. And so, and what messages that sends. So we really do have to find ways to love one another totally and completely. And it was so ironic because most recently I was looking online, and every now and then I go and look at Thich Nhat Hanh, who is, you know, one of my favorite people, and looking at what he called true love. And this whole notion about compassion and joy and loving kindness, and how we can be kind to one another in a loving way without any particular expectations of anything in return. And that is really hard for us to do because we have all of these conditions on and expectations of what we think people are supposed to do.
Yeah. He has a true love. He says he believes are 4 components, kind of as you were talking about, and he's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, if you're not familiar with who he is. He says loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness.
Inclusiveness.
I think a lot of people want to address injustices, but how do they do it peacefully? What's the best way for people to speak out or be uncomfortable in a way that doesn't shut other people out and is yet inclusive and is peaceful?
I think that really you have to first learn how to be comfortable with yourself. And we think that we really are. We kind of give in to what the mores of the society are rather than actually doing sometimes what we know is the right thing to do. And so when you can be truly comfortable with yourself, and when people are critical of you, you don't have to worry about that. You are really comfortable in your place in being able to fight those injustices. So I think that people just have to take that extra measure, and you really have to be one with yourself and really not have all of these lenses that we have of how we describe people and how we see people and how we judge people.
Yeah.
Because the judgment is really what takes us to that place of I'm better than, or I'm less than, or I'm more than. And really, at the end of the day, we're all the same.
Well, and that judgment, I think, is what's so counterproductive. And I love that you brought that up. The annual Martin Luther King service that you're here to talk about with us today is happening. It's sponsored by the Black Catholic Ministry Commission of the Milwaukee Archdiocese, also the Black and Indian Mission Grant, Sacred Heart Seminary and School of Theology, All Saints Catholic Church, also other groups supporting this. Everybody is welcome. It's happening this Saturday, January 14th. The theme is The Strength to Love, 1:30 to 3 p.m. It's at All Saints Catholic Church, which is located on North 28th Street.
25th Street.
25th. Okay.
It's on 25th
I didn't
and
have my
Capitol.
glasses
Missing
on.
the glasses today. North of a church.
Couldn't read in my notes or the TV. North 25th Street in Milwaukee. So great to see you again.
All right, you too.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you so much.
Yeah, Happy New Year.